I am Jason Abraham, the Shadow Teacher 33, talking to you on a bright sunny day. And in the Revelation series that I do with Jonathan Johnson, on one episode of that particular series, I share my perspective after walking away from a misaligned relationship, just 2 days out of walking away from this misaligned relationship, a time when I was in great pain, great turmoil in my soul. And one of the pieces of wisdom that Jonathan shares in that video is this idea of ending relationships with the same kindness that we begin them with. Now, some of us are lucky enough to find a soulmate. We're lucky enough to find someone who we become a partner with, and that partnership never ends. As we're still growing together, we're still growing in love and acceptance of one another. We're sharing a life mission long after that excitement and elation of the honeymoon stage has passed. But others of us, we hit this place to where we feel stagnant in the relationship. There's a suffering in our soul that's a result of being with this person. And some would say that the lessons that we needed from each other have already been learned. What we needed from that person has already taken shape with us. And the suffering that we're feeling, the suffering they may feel as well, is a sign that our time together has come to an end. And much of the time, what happens is that people lose respect for one another. They get in fights, they devalue one another, and they end in a very painful manner in which the other person is disrespected. And sometimes people can end and stay friends. But a lot of times that can't happen. And what's less common is this idea of conscious uncoupling. And conscious uncoupling, again, is ending this relationship in a kind way, ending this relationship with a lover or a partner at a time when there's a different mission for you and a different mission for them. A time, what lies ahead in life is just something that you can't share together. And for those who have the spiritual maturity to see this, then there's still a respect for the other person. Now, this is so hard because this goes against human nature. It goes against what our egos want. Our egos want to feel validated, and much of the time there is suffering, there's pain that's showing up. We're feeling disrespected, we're feeling hurt by this person. And so to look at them with reverence and end the relationship with a kind way really works against what our ego wants to do. Our ego, which wants to feel right, wants to feel validated, wants to feel safe. In fact, there's a safety sometimes in the suffering of a misaligned relationship, or a relationship that's run its course to where what you're called to do and what your partner was called to do are diverging in different directions. So this idea of conscious uncoupling essentially is holding the person with reverence and respect, holding each other with reverence and respect. Sometimes you can do a ceremony together and say your goodbyes, just like there's a marriage ceremony, just like there's a ceremony moving forward. But this idea of letting go, saying goodbyes with a whole, full heart, wishing nothing but the best for this person who you learned from, who you grew from, but you hit this point to where there's no more growth. Conscious uncoupling is a way to end a relationship as kind as it began. Again, a relationship that is not a life partnership, a relationship to where two souls came together to learn a lesson, and now the lesson is learned, and it's time to move on. And this is a lesson for me. This has shown up as relationships have come into my life this year, and then they've fallen out almost as soon as they came in. And they didn't end with conscious uncoupling. They ended with the typical pain and suffering that many relationships end. And I want to say conscious uncoupling, this is not the same as being friends with somebody. Conscious uncoupling is letting someone go in a kind way, but knowing that this person is not going to be in your life in the same capacity anymore. They may never be in your life again. This is a letting go. This is allowing someone to live and move on and do the work they need to do. This is not leaning on someone and relying on them just because they're familiar and they're comfortable. This is a situation where you let them go and you let them move on, and then you move on. The times you're tempted to lean on these people for what they once gave you, the good things in that relationship, when you consciously uncouple, you intentionally no longer do that. You grieve. You feel the loss of that person so that you can move on, but you don't rely on them as a friend anymore. Very, very hard to do for people, but such a great gift to our souls when we could actually do this successfully. And again, I'm someone, I've done this successfully in some relationships, but this year I'm making this video as a reminder. A lot of times it's a reminder to me wishing things could have been different and how things ended with people. So if we have the presence and the peace of mind and the wisdom to know when it's time to get out of a relationship, and we have the presence and the peace of mind and the wisdom and the love and respect for ourselves and for the other person to consciously uncouple, then that is a true sign of maturity, a true sign of awakening, and something that very few people can do successfully. And if that's something you're being called to do, then it's something that must come out of love, and love out of respect, not just for you, but for the other person. As that's ultimately a big part of our mission here, is to learn how to love and learn how to love well. So loving is knowing how to move forward and endure the challenges and the tribulations of life with the right partner or partners, but also knowing how to let go in a kind way when it's time to do so. So with that being said, I'm going to end this transmission. Be strong, be well. I'll see you on the other side.